Mike's Daily Podcast.
Have you seen the Patches special Mike movie that I made? Go to YouTube, or you can go to MikesDailyPodcast.com. There's the last show, episode 2398. There was that thing that was really great where if you scroll down and you look at the bottom of the blog for that day, you'll see it underneath the frog. Actually, underneath the cat patches. You can see it now. MikesDailyPodcast.com. And by blog, I mean, yes, okay, it describes the podcast. Mike's not really a daily long podcast literary masterpiece. Yeah! The blog at MikesDailyPodcast.com. It is basically, it describes what the podcast is, and then all the places you can listen to the podcast. There are lots of places. And every day I get an email from somebody, hey, you should put our podcast on our new platform. Platform, Mike. Put it on our platform. But, you know, I'm going to wait before I put it on your platform just to see if it's worth my time and energy. Some places are easy to post the podcast to because it's an RSS feed and or an XML feed, and you just already upload it. It's pulling from other servers. And now if I'm just way over your head at this point, I apologize, but that's the podcast world. But this is episode 2399, 2399. Had a very interesting conversation today with someone I've known for a while in the Bay Area. We were discussing my mom passing, and a lot of people lost their moms in the past couple of years. And it was interesting. Her situation was she had a mom who went into a senior living facility, and at first the mom liked it, was outgoing, was making friends, but then COVID happened and everyone was relegated to their rooms, and they couldn't.
And here's today's podcast picture.
They couldn't socialize anymore, and from there things went from bad to worse. And I said to her, it's kind of like a reason for living thing. It comes down to when you're in your 80s, 90s, and maybe your health's not so good. As long as you have that reason for living, reason to keep going. For my mom, she knew that it was going to be a lot of work because she had fractured her hip, and it was going to be a lot of rehab to go from there forward. I don't think it was very appealing to her at that point. So, anyway, things to think about. Reasons for living. The late, great Basil the Boxer, he had so much joy while he was alive. And we had such fun times together. And, yep. But you know what? You gotta find what makes you happy. What brings you joy in life. As cliche as that sounds. Maybe it's watching that awful Ryan Reynolds movie called Free Guy. Well, I haven't even seen it. I know. Why do I make a passive judgment on that? But you know, I have watched the Honest trailers about it. And basically, I cannot watch an Honest trailers about anything because then I get dissuaded from watching it. But the podcast picture is me in front of, what is this place called? This was somewhat recently. Oh, it was about a month ago now. Gosh, it was about a month ago. We had to go to Florida, take care of things after my mom's passing. But we tried to go for a walk on the beach and enjoy ourselves a little bit. We didn't have that much time. The Sunglow Fishing Pier is what that is. And yeah, that's what's behind me there. But there we are at Daytona Shores, Daytona Beach, walking along. See that picture at MikesDailyPodcast.com. And also, you can also see that very cool video with Patches. MikesDailyPodcast.com. Thank you to my lovely lady friend for taking that picture. Okay, so stuff going on in the world. Very interesting that in Houston, about 10,000 mail ballots were tabulated but not counted in Texas's most populous county on the day of last week's election, adding to the delay in determining some winners in the nation's first primary of the 2022 midterms. Election officials in Harris County, home to Houston, said that an oversight led to 10,000 ballots not being counted. Those votes, 6,000 Democratic, 4,000 Republican, will be added to the final tallies on Tuesday. Not overwhelmingly Democrat, not overwhelmingly Republican. Yes, there's a certain person that would have said, those were all votes for me. But interestingly, is this proof that what happened in 2020 was all a bunch of voter fraud? I can't say, and I cannot say any more than that because YouTube will take me down, even though I'm saying I do not think that's what happened. I don't think there was some magical vote fairies. Are they like pillow fairies? The little people that take your tooth fairies. That's what I meant. Pillow fairies. Wait, what's coming out of my mouth? Anyway, that happened. That was according to the CNBC Business Week. Somebody, where did that come from? Aw, man. I got it from Bing. It was a story from Bing. So I think somehow that was on the MSNBC. MSNBC, maybe? Okay. And you know how they lean with the votes, or with their perspective, MSNBC. But there you go. Fascinating. All right, what other things can we learn today on Mike's Daily Podcast? I recently read this article. Tell me what you think. 336 MM Daily. It goes, President Biden's first State of the Union was in need of the fact-check industry. As we go outside a cafe anyway, we're bringing Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcastro Valley, Vermont, the last place on earth. Ah, what a beautiful day. Oh, the sun is staying up longer. That's great. I love that. The fact-check industry we heard so much from during the Trump years. This article already is being very negative towards fact-checking, which, hey, what's wrong with that? Well, the author does some fact-checking himself. He says, President Biden, one step stood out to me particularly misleading. President Biden said he was, and I quote, the only president ever to cut the deficit by more than $1 trillion in a single year. Well, yeah, but the only way to get that badge of honor is to have a deficit which was pushing $3 trillion to begin with. And of course, there's the basic issues of adjusting for inflation. You know, he's kind of going on this, $1 trillion just ain't what it used to be because of debasing of the dollar. Now, wait a minute. The $1 trillion deficit. As I recall, during Trump's presidency, we did add to the debt. And I remember there were some very conservative, very libertarian type talk show hosts that got so upset at Trump for doing that, even though they should be leaning towards the party that, well, let's just say they hated Obama even more, but they were like, Trump, what are you doing? You're adding to the deficit. So I'm not sure we can throw all the blame of the deficit on Biden. But Mike, Democrats always add to the deficit. Do they? What about the guy before Obama that had all the deficit? But hey, I'm turning into a political podcast. And I'm not going to do that, but I'm going to finish reading what this person says. You decide what you think. Once one adjusts for the debasing of currency and size of previous deficit, they write, Biden's deficit drop is pretty run-of-the-mill, especially in comparison with other times when calamities have come to an end. If the COVID war is over, then when do we get our post-war boom? We need our economy back. So are we going to get a post-war boom after the COVID war, after the Ukrainian war? That's a question I find interesting myself. But meanwhile, Yes, our economy needs a boost, needs help. I agree with that. But, by the way, you can go to townhall.com to read that article I just read. And now I go to aarp.org because they have some tips on how to save money. And I'm only going to cover a couple of them, but one of them they say is buy reusable Keurig cups. Yes, single cup coffee makers are the hassle-free way to brew coffee, but Caribou K-Cups, for example, cost 66 cents each, as opposed to 28 cents per cup if you use Caribou ground coffee. You can buy a $1.50 reusable K-Cup, add your own ground beans, and save roughly $277 in a year on a 2-cup-a-day habit. You can shop with your smartphone. Many foods have more than one sale price. Keeping a running list on your phone of the lowest price you've paid for the staples that you buy repeatedly can help you know when to pass on a deal and when to stock up, keeping in mind where you get the best deals. Use bean broth. What's that? Boiling dried beans in salted water makes a creamy substitute for chicken broth. Oh, that's actually from Francis Lamb, who hosts the Splendid Table show, which I used to listen to quite a bit and sometimes go, oh. In fact, there was a place they were talking about, a restaurant in Oakland called Betty's, Bake Sale Betty. And this is back when I was living in Huntsville, Alabama, and I heard that and I went, oh, that place sounds amazing. And when I got to the Bay Area, to the East Bay, I made sure to go up to Oakland to try it out. And I should have said the Splendid Table sent me here, but I did not. So whenever you go somewhere, like to Bake Sale Betty's, tell them Mike's Daily Podcast sent you there. And they'll go, who? And you won't get a discount, and I guess it really doesn't matter, whatever. Get your favorite brew for less. If you love a particular coffee at a local coffee shop, ask to buy some in bulk so you can brew it at home. Then you can put it in smaller bags and squeeze out as much air as you can before sealing, so it'll keep fresh. Be a takeout wizard. Skip beverages. Why pay restaurant prices for sodas or juices you can pour yourself, saving $1 or more per drink? So if you eat out, don't buy beverages. Have filtered tap water. Go deep on grocery flyers. Focus on the front and back pages where supermarkets often put loss leaders, discounts they actually lose money on, to entice you into the store. Of course, the big one with Costco would be the rotisserie chicken. They lose money on that, whereas other supermarkets increase their prices, decrease their prices, increase their prices again. With rotisserie chicken, Costco just keeps it the same and loses money on that. That's why they put it way in the back of the store. And, tip to those of you in the East Bay, if you want rotisserie chicken, just forget about it. The Costco in San Leandro and Hayward will never have it. Or very seldom have it. You can sometimes get it in Fremont. Generally, they're pretty good in Fremont. And generally, they're really good in Danville at that Costco. But it's always gone in San Leandro. There's just some Costco's, the rotisserie chicken's always gone. And then real quick, how to get good deals with travel. Maybe you're going to be traveling now that restrictions are being lifted. We're supposed to be able to start wearing, we won't have to wear masks on planes possibly next month. But fly from hubs, suggests AARP.org. Airlines use hub airports to consolidate planes and save costs. Fares are cheaper and stopovers rare when you fly between hubs. It might make sense to drive to a hub. Find no-cost attractions. Why pay admission to see a cave, waterfall, or pretty vista if there are similar ones nearby that are free? Before you get in line, check online maps or chat with a local to find a similar activity that's off the beaten path. And Ask locals where to eat. Skip the hotel concierge when in search of good, inexpensive restaurant meals. Just pop into a shop and ask a clerk. You'll get a more authentic experience while saving money. And this is also fascinating. Buy flights on Sundays. A study by the Airlines Reporting Corporation showed that this was the day to get the lowest fares. A separate study by Expedia showed the best days to fly cheap were Thursdays and Fridays. That's actually fly cheap. But to book flights, they say do it on Sundays. Interesting. Outside a cafe anyway, somewhere in Podcaster Valley, play on... This is interesting, isn't it? The stuff that I say sometimes. That's why you listen, isn't it? Don't answer that. Look who's here.
Hello, Mike Matthews. It's Chely Shoehart, gift shop supervisor. Oh my gosh, I like to go to restaurants all the time, and I buy whatever drinks that they have, even if it's root beer, Mike Matthews.
Yeah, we serve root beer here at Cafe anyway, but we don't charge for it. So that's another great way is to just buy a bunch of root beer at Cafe anyway, and then you'll have it for free because you bought it for free.
Mike Matthews, that doesn't make sense.
You're right. Look who else is here. Hello, Mike. This is Floyd the Floorman. And this is John Deere, the engineer. Mike, I think your podcast is just about over. So people should call you. Where can they call you? Where can they call me? Oh, 336MM Daily. That's 3 plus 3 equals 6. MM as in Mike Matthews, Daily as in what this podcast has been now for quite a few days. Sometimes I get interrupted, but we'll see. Next show, it'll be the wonderful Benita, the Disgruntled Fiddle Player, and the Brewmaster. Yes, give me a call. Tell me what you think about what we covered today. Or you can contact me via this particular account.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at MikesDailyPodcast.com. Email Mike now at MikesDailyPodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!